I think that that's where a lot of us are struggling, is that we've been conditioned to do this, and you only see what's in front of you, and then you believe that's the reality, and then you've got people around you say, just be realistic, just do the thing that you're supposed to do, and you're like, okay, well, that's all I see, so I'm going to do that.
Right.
And over time, you just get more and more conditioned to behave a certain way versus...
Welcome to the Becoming Sound podcast, where we dive into the tough stuff and try to find the humor in the hot mess of being an adult child. Join me as we peel back the layers on growing up in dysfunction, navigating substance abuse, mental health challenges, and everything in between.
Hello, friends, and thanks for joining me on the Becoming Sound podcast. I'm Krista Zaft, your host, and if you're new here, welcome, welcome. I'm so grateful that you're joining us today. I have a wonderful guest on the show. Jen Haddix is joining us, and she is a certified master sound healer, a mentor, spiritual business coach, and yoga instructor. She has helped countless humans connect to the healing vibrations of sound to transform their lives, and after guiding over 130 sound baths in the past couple years, she has witnessed firsthand the profound healing that sound can bring to individuals and to the collective. She also has a natural gift for zooming out spiritually, energetically, and emotionally to help you see and embody the unique magic that already lives within you. If you've ever wondered about sound healing and what it can do for you, stay tuned because you're in for a treat. And I can tell you that you will no doubt feel Jen's vibrant energy just through her words alone on this episode. I'm so excited for you to meet her. She was an absolute treat. So let's dive in. Hi, Jen. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
I'd like you to share a little bit about your childhood and how your experiences shaped your understanding of yourself and the world around you. Yeah, just tell us a little bit about you.
This is I might cry because I'm
That's
actually
okay.
I'm currently going through like a huge extra healing on top of all the healing I've already done, because something came out, like a repressed memory, and I've been like sifting through it, so it's been kind of wild.
That's okay. I think we all go through that too, right? There's not a finish line.
I totally know that, and I would tell any of my clients that, but I was like, oh yeah, I've done all this work, and then I was like, repressed memory, oh no, and it's just like really fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so fun.
That's right. Well, whatever you got, we'll take.
Okay, well, so my mom was a drug addict and alcoholic, and so my parents got divorced when I was 3, and my mom got custody, because back then it didn't matter what the mother did, she still got custody no matter what. And my dad fought for us for a very, very long time, and he wasn't able to get me out of there until I was about 9 or 10. Okay. But my mom was very much into alcohol and pills. And I actually have a memory of her getting taken away by the police in the middle of the night, because it was before doctors had computers. So she was able to like take scripts to a bunch of different doctors, and she got caught getting all these different pain pill scripts. And so they took her away in the middle of the night. Very, very dramatic. So I've got a lot of stories like that I vaguely remember from my childhood of my mom, just, men coming in and out of the house, and lots of passed out evenings, lots of hungry nights because we didn't have a lot of food. Just that kind of, anybody who's had a, adult child of an alcoholic or drug addict probably has very similar stories to this. And so even after I moved out, because I got to tell the court mediator at about 8 or 9, I was like, I want to live with Dad. And this is part of where the repressed memory came in. I just found out like a week ago. Even after that, she used to just come over all the time because she was obsessed with me and she couldn't be away from me, and she would tell me, it's your fault that I'm doing all these drugs because you left me, and blah, blah, that kind of stuff. And so I've done a lot of work on this. I really have. I've done a lot of work, and I have got a very great life, and I'm very grateful. But it still comes up. It's still painful. It has shaped the way that I see myself, and that's the current work that I'm working on, because the memory that came up is that my mom used to call me fat, and I didn't remember that, but everybody else in my life called me fat at that time because I was very heavy. And body image issues are my biggest struggle today, and I am 40 years old. And so I'm like, oh, wow. So the thing that my mom said in those moments has shaped how I see myself as a person. And on top of that, there's a lot of that chaos that I grew up in. And so I'm catching myself constantly creating chaotic situations because I don't feel comfortable in safety. And I'm like, okay, like, why are you, saying yes to too many things or taking too many meetings? And I'm like, oh no, because I feel like I don't know how to function when things are calm.
Well,
but
I'm also not alone.
I feel like anybody who listens probably knows exactly.
Yeah,
what
you are
I'm
not
talking about.
alone. From experience, I've been there for sure.
You too?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The first part of my adulthood, really, right up until my twins were 3, and I was already well into my 30s. I was constantly creating chaos because that was my comfort zone. I did not understand why, because I wasn't aware enough to really dive in.
It doesn't seem like you're intentionally creating chaos, but literally for
Right.
me, from a balanced place, it will still be like putting too much stuff on my calendar.
Right.
And to the point where I'm like, oh God, I'm so busy, I can't handle it. And I do that
Exactly.
to myself over and over again. And I'm like, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And
So
I
you
still
get
do
it.
those things too, too much on my plate.
Yep. And I'm very self-aware. I know
Yeah.
I've done a lot of healing work and I totally know all of my patterns, but I still, certain subconscious programs are still like driving the bus. And I'm like, that every time I see it, I'm like, okay, another opportunity to try again.
Yeah, which is great because awareness is so key, right? If you're aware, you can stop yourself and look at it instead of continuing down that road. So kudos to you for being in that space to recognize it. This is interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, chaos ensues most of my childhood, all of my teenage years and all of that. She's around, but I'm not living with her anymore, but she's coming around all the time. And the behavior progressively gets worse. Especially pill addicts, your tolerance gets higher and higher and higher.
Yes.
So she's taking more and more and drinking to supplement. And, there was a point in that, this is so crazy because this also shaped how I am with money, and I've been working on that as well. But right around, I was like 15 or 16. I didn't want to talk to her anymore because she was just bringing so much chaos into my life. I was trying to protect myself, and she married her 4th husband, and he inherited several $1 million because his dad died. Like, this money came out of nowhere, and my mom gambled all of it. Millions of dollars. She gambled all of it. Yeah, but she had come around and she was trying to basically like buy me back. And so she would buy me a, really nice car and buy me, all these clothes. And she was just kind of coming around and, doing more chaotic behavior. And, I'm 16, so I'm like, I'll take a car. I'll take, that sounds great.
Yeah.
And also I love my mom. So no matter what, I know anybody listening to this, if you've got mama trauma, all parent trauma is traumatic. But mama trauma specifically, I feel, we want our mother's love more than anything, no matter what she does. And so I kept trying to, reconnect with her. And then she went off the deep end and took away the car and crashed it. And there was a warrant out for her arrest, so she left the state. So I did a lot of, this is my saving grace. So singing and musical theater saved my life. That was what I did back then. It was like the best. And I still do it to this day. And she came to one of my shows when I was like 23, 24. And I was, barely talking to her, but I let her come to my show. But she was wandering around in the lobby during the show, like talking to walls and just drugged out of her mind. And so I was mad at her, and I said, get out of here. I'm really upset that you did that. And then a few months later, I got a call that she had died, and she overdosed on about 90 Oxycontins.
Wow.
So that's like the end of that part of the story. So that was about 15 years ago that she died. Yeah,
and that's tough. And I'm sorry to hear that. Like, you're so immersed in it, you don't really know, how to manage any of that stuff. I mean, at the best of times, we don't. If you grow up in a healthy home, it's still hard. Yeah, completely understand. What was the catalyst that led you to really want to start healing? Was that after your mom passed? Yeah.
So that's the other thing, too, that maybe a lot of your listeners will resonate with, is that I never got into drugs because I was very like, my mom does drugs, I don't want to do drugs. But I got into drinking because everybody was drinking. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to college and my friends are drinking and whatever. I didn't realize until about 4 years ago that I was an alcoholic. So I used it to cope with everything. And so but I kind of started to heal a little bit before that, and I still kept drinking, and I became sober 4 years ago. But right around... Thank you. It was such an awakening to me that I never thought I could be away from alcohol. And now it's like my greatest, it's helped my life so much. It's brilliant. And some people, my boyfriend can drink and it doesn't affect him at all. But for me, it just doesn't work well with my soul. But back in 2016, I got diagnosed bipolar. And that was kind of what kick-started my spiritual awakening and my healing, because I was really suicidal. I was manic depressive all the time. I was having all these episodes, and so I got on medication, but I didn't want to be on medication because I felt terrible. I felt like a zombie. It didn't feel good. And so my first mentor and healer entered my life, and she was a homeopath, and she also, we had this sort of like fun woo-woo belief that she was my mother in a past life, so she kind of mothered me for a while.
Nice.
And got me some homeopathic versions of my lithium and my Klonopin so that I could get off of the medication. And so that's kind of what started the healing journey, and that's like 9 years ago now. So that kind of started it, and then of course a bunch of stuff has happened since then.
Yeah, once you open the doors, I think it just kind of floods in.
Yes.
You start surrounding yourself with different people and energies, and you're like, wow. When I first started, I thought, I'm not on anything, but I'm pretty sure these people are on something, because nobody can be this happy all the time. Right? It's crazy that you think that. It's just this warped sense of the world that we see through our eyes coming from that kind of environment, right? Yeah. And I love it. Once you open to it, you just, like, I just want to dive in with my whole...
And there's no turning back either.
No.
Once you open it, you're like, okay, this is what we do now. Like, you can't go back. So just opening that door, and it just kind of opened my consciousness up to things that I didn't even know existed. And then you start seeing yourself in a way that you've never had the opportunity to zoom out, because basically your inner child has been driving the bus this whole time, and you're just repeating the patterns that you know. Yeah. Because when you're a kid and you grow up in that environment, you create the best that you can to survive. You create the best patterns and the responses and whatever, but then you unknowingly take those into your adulthood until they're challenged by external circumstances, right? So relationships and jobs and all the things that kind of mirror that back to you, but then if you don't know that it's a pattern, you just keep doing it because you don't know what else to do. So I had the opportunity to have somebody who kind of showed me the expanded worldview and the expanded just consciousness of how things actually work, and how and this is the hardest part, and I share this with my clients a lot, when you take responsibility for your own life and your own healing, everything changes. But when you grew up like that, you feel like a victim because you were. Yeah. And I'll say that, just what happened to you is not your fault. But but healing is your responsibility, no matter what, no matter which way you look at it. And that kind of sucks. And it's unfortunate that you have to reparent yourself and do all of that. But there's so much power in it once you accept it. And so that's kind of where my journey has been, is just accepting that my mom's not here anymore. Even if she was, there isn't anything that she could change. So it's up to me to, move forward and change the way that I approach things.
Yeah, 100%. Once we become aware, like you said, there's no turning back from that. Even in the beginning of my healing journey, I kept hanging on to that victim mode. I kept a stronghold on that because it connected me to that world I was leaving behind.
Yes.
And it's like this string I was pulling along, And when you say, you have all these things that you carry from your childhood to keep you safe, I always call that like this big, huge suitcase. You're lugging it into your relationships, into your raising your kids, all this stuff, and you don't even know what's in the suitcase half the time until you really start healing journey. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I've been packing around thousands of pounds. It's so complex. Truly, you are responsible for your own healing. And it does suck sometimes. Not gonna lie, it is the toughest work you'll ever do, and it is the most rewarding. It is. Yes, it truly is.
And it will change your life completely. I mean, really, if you can. And that's the funny thing too, is that even though I know that and I live that on a daily basis, this new information, this repressed memory that I got, my very first reaction was victimhood. I was like really angry and sad, and like, how could she do that to me when I thought she was the only one who wasn't doing it to me or whatever. And I spent, a good 24 hours crying it out and feeling sorry for myself. And then it's almost, I've been trying to be a victim. I keep trying to go back to that place because I think my identity is wrapped up in it, right? Like, I don't know who I am without A, B, and C. And the more I try, I can't. Like, I almost can't feel like I've been doing so much work around this that I can't seem to get myself to that sad place. I'm like, okay, well, this is just what we're doing now, and I'll work with it and move forward. It's been really interesting.
Yeah. And I think you need to let yourself have that time, though. I study with a coach now, and she was saying, well, it's okay to sit in your stuff for a while. Like, give yourself a time frame. It is harder to sit in that long term when you are on a healing journey and your awareness is greater. But I think there's a place for that. And a lot of people try to push that back down. And they're like, no, if I don't feel this, then it's not going to happen. Or I'm stronger now, so I don't have to go there. But you do. You have to keep feeling those feelings. And that was a tricky one for me. But now I really realize that if I'm having a moment or a memory comes up or something comes up that triggers me, I just have to allow myself to sit in it, to cry, to do all the things I need to do, and then move forward. And then I'm like, okay, I think I'm okay. Like I really felt that. I can process it easier, and then let's go, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's beautiful too. I think just giving yourself permission to feel it, and it won't go as long as you think it will. Especially if you've got that awareness, you can't hold on to it as long as you would have before.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's beautiful. So what were some of the practices that helped you the most? What were some of the things you dove into when you first started out?
So when I first started out, yoga was always my go-to. And I know that like some people love yoga, some people are afraid of it. I'm going to just share my experience and see if that resonates with anybody. But I was really into competitive bodybuilding at the time, right around when that happened. Yeah, so I'm really into working out now, and I've got a lot of that going on in my life. And so I started going to yoga just to stretch, because that's what you do when you're like lifting a lot of weights. You're like, I just want to go stretch my body. But what happens is that yoga is designed to make you meditate. So yoga, as we know it in the West, is literally a moving meditation. So you inhale, move your arms. You exhale, you bend over. You do all these different things. And I didn't even realize that I was meditating at all. It was just kind of slowly helping me calm down and find that calm, even if it was just for an hour a day. And then I went to yoga teacher training because I just wanted to learn more, because that's what happens is that door opens, that door opens, that door opens.
Exactly.
And I was like, okay, I want to learn more. And then I was like, I'm not going to teach. I'm just going to learn. And then I ended up teaching, because that's just, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to be a yoga teacher now. And then, so it just kept, and then so sound healing came in, and that's been the past few years. But I taught yoga for a long time before I kind of went into the next steps. But yoga was the main one. Meditation is a challenge, which I'm sure plenty of people resonate with that. I find pure meditation very challenging still to this day. And I can teach it, but when I try to do it myself, I'm like, this is hard. I don't. Yeah.
Like 1,000 things are going through your mind. That's actually where I started, was Reiki and meditation. So I was invited to a guided meditation circle with a friend of mine. And I had never meditated. I knew what it was. I had watched it, and I thought, that is not for me. Like, there's no way I'm going to get my mind to settle down. And I was sitting in this circle with my eyes closed, and it was an experience, and I enjoyed it. But I'm like, how long does it take you to empty your mind? Like, this is crazy. I'm never going to get there, It was like a list after a list, and then I'm thinking just random, weird, crazy thoughts. And I felt exhausted when I left. But there was something that drew me back. Yes. And maybe it was the people, the two mentors that I ended up, becoming really good friends with, bawled the whole way home. I had no idea why. And I'm like, okay, there's something to this. I'm not a huge yoga person. I'm actually starting a new yoga class today, because I do understand it connects your mind and your body. And that was a disconnect I had for so many years. And I have done lots of yoga in the past. But when I started yoga, I couldn't get out of my head. I'm so competitive with myself, and the controlling thoughts, like, you want me to slow down for an hour, and then you want me to do these poses that I can't do. So I'm looking at the lady in front of me, and I'm thinking, you're a failure because you can't do what she's doing. Why can't I do that? So that internal dialogue, that voice that had told me that if I can't do it perfectly, I can't do it at all. Yep. So yoga was like this nemesis for me. And the only pose I liked was when I was laying down in Shavasana. I'm like, oh, thank God it's over. Now I really enjoy it because I like that mind-body connection, and
I think a lot of people probably resonate with you on that too, because I've seen people come in and they're like, well, I can't do that yet. I'm like, well, of course you can't. You've never done it before. Like, you got to give yourself a chance. Like, try.
You forget you learned how to walk at one point, and you're like,
right?
You don't just start out at the top, right?
No, you got to learn how to do it.
Yeah, it's those programs and all that stuff.
It is the programming.
Okay, this is something I absolutely love. So I want to dive into this with you, sound healing. And I've seen on your website that you do the glass bowls. I've been to 2 or 3 ceremonies where they have like sound baths. oh my God, it just takes you to another world. Like it is so healing for someone that comes from the background we do. I find it one of the most healing modalities I've ever tried. So tell us about what you do.
Oh, that's so wonderful. That makes me so happy. Okay. So this is something that I've been doing for a few years, and it kind of just came to me in a download. So all of that musical background, I had been wanting to incorporate it, but I couldn't figure out how, and then this came to me, and I was like, oh, okay. And so I started learning how to do it and hosting ceremonies and adding more instruments. But really, I'm not a super scientific person, but I will share just from like an intuitive standpoint, and of course all of the experience that I have watching people go through this, because I've held over 150 sound baths in the past few years. So we're made of 80-90% water.
Yeah.
And if you put water into one of those crystal bowls and you move the thing, you'll see all the water moving, and you'll see the vibration in the water. That's what's happening in your body when you go into a sound bath. So all of these experiences that we've had, especially as adult children of alcoholics and drug addicts and all of that, the chaos that we've experienced, if we couldn't deal with it, we placed it into our hips or our shoulders or our neck or our belly or our whatever. And it sits in there and it festers until it's able to be looked at or moved. And sound healing, even just an hour of sound healing, and that vibration will move it for you, especially if you let it, because a lot of us will hold on to it for the sake of, that's my story and I'm not ready to let it go, and that's okay. That might mean that you need 10 sound baths to kind of work through it, but it can vibrationally move any of that energy that you're still holding that doesn't work for you anymore. So that's why in this space specifically, I think it's a really powerful healing modality for people.
It is, yeah. I went to one too where she used all these different instruments. I don't even know, because my eyes were so closed. I was so into it. So I don't even know what she was using. But and the drumming and all that stuff. Anything that is that vibration, right? But it's so soothing and so calming to someone who has a nervous system that is operating in this fight or flight mode all the time. Or someone with high cortisol, or your adrenals are just drained. Yeah. So incredibly healing. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, we do all that. We have drums and gongs and rain sticks and little noisemakers.
Rain
and
sticks,
sometimes right, we got this really big 10-minute rain stick. It goes for 10 minutes by itself. It's really cool.
Oh, wow, cool.
But you'll see people like take off their little eye pillow and try to see what we're doing. They're like, what is that noise? Like, they're like, what's happening? But I also, so that's something, what you were saying about the adrenals and cortisol and fight or flight. Something else that I do, and I'm currently working on crafting this into more of a specific workshop, is I will have people chant and sing with me, because that chanting, first of all, opens up your throat chakra, so it helps you with that self-expression. But I just had a person in one of my retreats who is very science-minded, and she said it's scientifically proven to help reset your vagus nerve. So even if you feel like fight or flight, there's all kinds of tools for the vagus nerve, but you could literally just for a minute, and it would help you find that calm.
Cool.
Yeah, so just as a tool for your people to take away.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Just humming, right? And getting that vibration down into your... Yeah, that's cool. And so many of us who grow up in this environment, the throat chakra is so blocked. You feel like you can't speak your truth, and then one day you do, and you're talking on the microphone and you won't shut up. So...
More of that.
Right?
More of that.
Exactly.
Yes, I love it so much.
But when you're starting out, you feel very blocked here. There's a lot of physiological stuff that can be going on with your throat area, and that almost always leads back to that you don't have a voice.
I've had people that will, I'll do these like singing circles, and they'll be like, I didn't realize my voice was stolen from me 20 years ago, and it's amazing, because it really is powerful. And if you think about it, we used to sing in circles as people all the time, and now it happens in church. And in my circles in yoga, we do it sometimes in kirtan. But aside from that, people are like, well, if I'm not a good singer, then I'm not supposed to be singing, or I'm not supposed to be chanting. And that could not be further from the truth. Everyone has this ability.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And if all you can do at the beginning is belt out tunes in your car when no one's listening, just do that then, right?
That will still do it for you.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Until you get brave enough.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. So I wanted to ask you, what do you find that most people get really challenged with when they're trying to reconnect with themselves?
It's hard for me to generalize, because I feel like everybody is so different in the things that they come to me with. But shadow work is something that I do with people that I think is really hard, is to face those parts of yourself that you feel ashamed of, guilty about, memories that, like, for me, for example, I've got a lot of, all those drunk years, I did a lot of stuff that I am not proud of. And when I look back on that, it can be hard for me to not, to give her compassion and love and not be like ashamed of the things that I did before I knew better or, you know, started to heal. And so people on this journey, there's all kinds of things that they're ashamed of, whether it's how they spent their money or what they've been doing with their time or what they have done until they knew better. And I think that the most challenging thing is to look at that and go, I love you no matter what, to give themselves the unconditional love that they always wanted that they didn't receive. And even for people that are not like from our backgrounds, I think a lot of people, most people struggle with that.
Yeah, oh, for sure. That it's a tough thing to do. And just for people listening too, shadow work is the work that literally like facing yourself, you know. I belong to Al-Anon too. I know it's not for everybody, but aside from a group of that sort, step 4 is shadow work. I had done a little bit of shadow work before, but I was terrified of it. And I just wasn't ready until I got to step 4 in Al-Anon, and I was like, whoa. And it's hard to move forward until you do that work. And I'm like, this is the work I've been waiting for. I was ready at that time. But it's similar to that. It's making a list of all of the stuff that you feel bad about and all of the stuff that you're great at too, because we can't forget about ourselves in both the dark and the light, right?
Yes.
And then just be willing to face that and say, yeah, I did that and I'm not proud of it. And now I forgive myself for it, right?
Yes.
So leaning into that shadow work is so important. A lot of people don't understand shadow work. They're thinking, woo, it's kind of woo-woo, right?
And it can be, but like you said, even in Al-Anon, that is something. I was talking to somebody yesterday who is an active AA member, and I was talking about how beautiful the 12 steps are for anything.
Anything,
we associate it with Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's good for anything. It's a really beautiful process.
It is. And if you just took the 12 steps out of any AA Al-Anon kind of group setting and you just actually did those steps as a workbook, like if children could go through that at an earlier age, you can reframe, you can take the word God out, you can do whatever you want. But the steps themselves in surrendering, in learning about yourself, in facing yourself, in learning to forgive and make amends to other people and yourself, like, it should be taught in schools, honestly.
Honestly.
There's a lot of things should be taught in schools, but
yes,
it's a whole other conversation.
We're not talking about that right now, but I'm sure we could.
That's right, exactly. So you did mention briefly the zooming out. Can you elaborate about what that means to you and how you do that with your clients?
So I actually loved what you said earlier about the suitcase, because I kind of use that as a visualization tool for certain clients if it resonates with them, where you almost have to take it out and open it and unpack every little thing in it so that you can see the full picture rather than everything. Like you said, you don't even know what's in there. You don't even know what you put in there 10 years ago. Yeah. And so it's kind of that's one way to look at it, is, you know, being able to unpack the suitcase and then zoom out at all the contents so you can almost see the way that the puzzle pieces fit together and the way that, you know, this is influencing this versus just having all this chaos in your head. But furthermore from that, a lot of the zooming out that I talk about is zooming out at the collective energy, the world as a whole. And so I am very woo-woo. I'm going to share that right now. I'm a super woo person. Like, I'm so into it. I do a lot of human design and astrology and that sort of thing. So some of us see the world differently, but as a human design projector, that's what I just do as a person, is I'm able to kind of zoom out and look at all the moving pieces and just see how things fit together. And I think that that's where a lot of us are struggling, is that we've been conditioned to do this, and you only see what's in front of you, and then you believe that's the reality, and then you've got people around you say, just be realistic, just do the thing that you're supposed to do, and you're like, okay, well, that's all I see, so I'm going to do that. And over time you just get more and more conditioned to behave a certain way, versus, like you said, speaking your truth and being who you are and being able to kind of, you know, take that apart a little bit and see the things that are right in your periphery. And I know that's all kind of I tend to speak in very esoteric terms, but it really is just for anybody listening, from wherever you are, if you feel stuck or you feel like things are hurting or painful or you're having a hard time moving past this chapter in your life, it's a good chance that if you kind of looked at the bigger picture in some way, the way things are influencing other things, you might be able to get some answers that you haven't been able to get when you're doing this, if that makes sense.
And honestly, I have to say, having a coach help you do that is absolutely invaluable, because you can't always do that yourself.
And I'm so glad you said that, because I'm a coach. I just hired a coach. Like, we are always having that. Like, that's yes. Like, it's just that's we need that help. We need that extra viewpoint, that hand, that whatever. Yeah.
Everybody needs help, and I just made a decision to go back to therapy too. Like, I haven't been to a therapist for such a long time, so I start next week with a new therapist. I'm so excited, and and I also have a coach too, so it just kind of hits all the different points, you know. Coaches help you with certain things, therapists help you with certain things, different healers help you with certain things too. So I'm always you know, like, starting yoga, and anytime there's a sound bath nearby, I love to go to that. I just interviewed a lady who does hypnotherapy, and I'm like, hot damn, I didn't think I'd like it, but I think I want to try it.
Oh,
you know?
I was going to say, I actually just started hypnotherapy sessions with a new person.
Did you?
We're like meeting my mom in this temple and talking to her and process. It's beautiful. It's such a cool modality. Yeah.
Wow.
So highly recommend. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so I think I'm going to reach out to someone. So that's exciting too. This is why I like doing this stuff, because I learn so much from everybody. And then I'm like, oh man, I need to carve out some time in my day to try all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, without getting overwhelmed, for sure.
Without creating that chaos, like, ugh.
Exactly. Yeah. One thing I wanted to talk about was the self-love part too. I know you mentioned that the only real truth in the world is love, and I couldn't have even said it better, because it is true. I think if you peel away all those layers, we really just want to be seen and heard and felt loved, you know?
Yep.
So how would you recommend someone just start that self-love journey?
That is such a big one. There's all kinds of different things you could do, but I think getting to the root of what it is that you're struggling with will help you know why you don't love yourself, right? So that shadow work might be a really good entry point, because you're like, okay, like for me, body issues are that's my core wound. I've had it my whole life, and that is where I struggle the most, so that's what needs the most of my attention. And so affirmations around positive things around my body, or telling her that I love her, or thanking her, expressing gratitude for all the things that she does for me, that's going to help me with that core wound of mine. So it kind of depends on if you feel like you're not intelligent and you struggle to love yourself because maybe in your childhood somebody made you feel stupid and you felt like you weren't able to speak up, and that your insights aren't valuable, then you want to create a practice around first seeing the fact that you feel that way and really owning it and going, okay, this is something that I deal with and it's something that I believe, and now my work is to dismantle that belief and create a new one. Affirmations are very powerful. Sound healings, like, I honestly take yourself into a sound healing container with the intention to kind of rewrite that belief. That's a really good way to do it. Hypnotherapy, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is a really powerful way to kind of, they bypass the conscious mind.
Yes.
And it makes your subconscious a little bit more suggestible, so it makes it easier for you to start to believe those things. Yoga is beautiful. There's a lot of self-love coaches out there. You could find somebody that really resonates with you that could help you with that. One of the goddess of self-love is, you probably have heard of her, and she's passed now, but Louise Hay.
Yes.
Yeah. She was, sure everybody here.
She was one of the first. It was one of the first books I picked up, actually, and it had a accompanying journal with it. But in the back of the book, she used to be a nurse, and she used to interview patients and start to make this correlation between what was happening with them physically, their illnesses, and the emotions that were attached to that. It completely changed my view on what I was holding on to. Yeah. And how it was manifesting in my body. Yeah. She's brilliant. She was brilliant.
She's brilliant, and was it You Can Heal Your Life? Is that what you read?
Yeah, You Can Heal Your Life. Yeah. Sorry, I couldn't.
That book. Yeah. No, it's okay, because you said accompanying journal, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's what.
There's a journal with it. Yeah.
Yes, and that book blew my mind.
Yeah,
because
me too.
she went through some crap. She talks about it at the end, about her story, and if she can do that after what she went through, we can all do it. It was, but she talks about affirmations and talking to yourself kindly and all those things. So Louise Hay. That would be, if you're like, I don't have money for a coach right now, that doesn't sound like something I'm ready to do, just go buy that book. And that would be a really good entryway into that.
Really powerful book for sure. Yeah, just to work your way through that and get the journal if you can too, or you can do your own journaling. But the journal's real nice, laid out really nice, and it helps you just work through that. So, yeah, that's great. Is there anything else that you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Well, kind of, and I'm going to like approach it carefully because I'm curious about your thoughts about it. But one of my other great teachers right now is plant medicine. I don't know if you've ever have you ever partaken, or, because I know that comes up in the mental health space a lot. So
I have not. So yeah, please talk about that.
I'm speaking to what the West would call hallucinogenic, all that kind of stuff. But something that comes up a lot because, like, for example, Reno just got our first psilocybin church, and they're treating people with PTSD, and people with complex PTSD will do ketamine treatments, and so it's a big thing in the mental health world, but a lot of people are afraid of it. So I kind of wanted to bridge this in case anybody wanted to hear my experiences about it, so that they kind of knew if there was something.
Yeah, no, I'm interested because I'm not familiar with it, and so please tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so first of all, you definitely want to be more or less called to it. If you're really scared of it, you're going to have a hard experience. So if you're listening to this, you're like, no, thank you, I'm not interested. It's not for you yet. But if you've had this sort of inkling, like, oh, I have this feeling for whatever reason, and I've listened to Joe Rogan, and he's talked about it, and he's got all these powerful stories, then you might want to look into it. So I actually have a mushroom journey planned this Sunday. I have facilitators that I do it with, and they watch you to make sure that you're okay, and they take care of you and stuff. And so all of this shadow work that we're talking about, all of this inner child stuff, the mushrooms have a way of showing it to you and unpacking it for you to where you can digest it better and understand it. It's a beautiful space that you're taken to that's almost cosmic, that can show you all of your wounds from a loving place and help you work through them. It's hard to explain because unless you've done it, you don't know what it looks like. No, and you won't know until you go there.
Yeah, I've watched some videos on ayahuasca, like in Peru, and there's some pretty intense experiences, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I could handle it. That was going to
be my next one.
Right? Yeah.
So last year I went to Peru in February, and I did 4 sets of ayahuasca. So I went all the way over there to do the whole thing, and it's terrifying. However, I'm going back next February because I can't freaking wait because I loved it so much. But in the moment, I was like, what? Because you're in a room with 8 other people. Yeah. There's vomiting, there's crying, there's all kinds of stuff happening. But the experience was so profound, and I got to meet my mom in there. I asked her to come in, and it was really, I felt all of her pain and her fear, and she was just like a little child, and I got to see her that way versus this mom that had wronged me, and it changed how I saw her from then on.
Yeah.
And so there's some beautiful work in there, however, but if you watch like a documentary, you're like, wow, there's we all vomited, because vomiting is part of it. That's something that you're not supposed to do, but they encourage. But no one pooped their pants. So I will share that in my experience, 4 times, no one had that problem.
I think it's more it's a very emotional experience. Yes. And you're right. If you're not ready or you're scared about that kind of thing, you have any reservations, you're just not there. You're not ready. Or maybe it's just not for you, right?
Exactly.
Because it looks like it could be very intense. But but super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wanted to share like a quick little tidbit about that. I talk about it all the time. In ayahuasca aside, even microdosing psilocybin will not make you have a hallucinogenic experience, and it can really help you. So that's something to look into. And of course, like, this is not something that's legal in the West, so you got to be careful.
If you really want, you can access anything.
You can find, yes.
Right.
Correct. Yes, literally anything. So I just wanted to share that, and that's like a really powerful part of my healing journey right now.
Well, that's awesome. I'd love to know what the audience thinks of it, and if I get a lot of requests or comments or people are like, yeah, do an episode on that, you're my girl.
And if anybody is really interested, I could probably connect you with some facilitators or something that would be able to give you some information that I don't have because I'm not a facilitator. So
perfect. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Jen.
Sure.
And and where can people get a hold of you?
Intuitivejen.com, JEN, and that has all of my everything on there, my online stuff, my in-person. Any questions you have. I love questions, so email me if you want to. I'd love to hear from you,
Yeah, and I'll post all that in the show notes too. So thank you so much for sharing. This was very enlightening and awesome. I just love your energy. So thank you for just showing up as your authentic self. I totally look forward to connecting with you again. I think it would be really a cool conversation to have around that whole topic.
I would love that. Yes, I would love that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you for joining me today on another episode of Becoming Sound. If this episode resonated with you in some way, please share it with someone you care about. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. It helps to get this information out to more people who may need it. If you have a sec, I would love a follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. While you're there, hit the 5-star rating and give me a review. When you're scrolling, follow me on my social platforms, and I would love to hear your comments and feedback. Have a fabulous day, lots of love and gratitude from me. Please note, the views, information, and opinions expressed during the Becoming Sound podcast series are solely those of the individuals involved. The content of this podcast is to educate, inform, and for entertainment purposes only. This podcast series and the content presented does not constitute for medical or other professional advice or services. If you are in crisis or in need of help, please contact your medical or professional provider.